When I was in university, something interesting happened. We did some good things which had some bad side effects. Now, I majored in videography, and as part of our course, we were taught to dissect films into all sorts of technical and aesthetic elements. Now, it was fun for sure, but over time, what happened is that we often forgot how to enjoy films without its veneer of technical deconstruction. We always looked at it from an academic point of view, and we analyzed every bit of it: what should be, what should not be, how things ought to be, how things ought not to be. And the cameras we used to do recordings ourselves were big and heavy and cumbersome, with all sorts of functions that we had learned about in the course. And eventually what happened is that unless we had a strong reason to use them, we would not go anywhere near those equipment. Now this is where I want to bring the attention of this video. Whether we are a professional or an enthusiast, and no matter what our medium is, the deeper we get into a particular craft, our equipment or the tools that we use become bigger, heavier, more cumbersome, and we tend to only like things which will give us exactly what we need. But here's the thing: good quality comes at the cost of price, convenience, size, and weight. We should ask ourselves, are we sacrificing our creativity and our art because we don't have the exact tool that we need for the job at that moment? And that is why I want to talk about the Insta360 Go3s. There are a lot of online reviews for this camera, and this is not going to be one of those videos, but there are three things that I would like to share about this camera from my personal experience. The first one being portability. Some of you all know that I love small cameras and I love my Fujifilm mirrorless camera. I can take it anywhere, but sometimes even a small mirrorless camera like the X-T5 can be too big. This camera, however, it is super tiny, and I think this is probably the only camera in this size and form factor which shoots 4K 30. So I don't think there is any competition in that sense for this camera. Number two, convenience. And when we talk about convenience, it's all about magnets. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably know that this entire system that Insta360 has built is built on magnets. So you can use the built-in magnetic pendant for POV shots, or you can use the pivot stand which has a 1/4 inch thread for all sorts of mounting options. It also comes with a hat clip where you can do POV shots which approximates what your eye sees very well. So yes, this magnetic system and the size of this camera away from the action pod and even within it, it's so small. So convenience, I would say this is probably the most convenient camera that I have seen and used. Number three, uniqueness. Now, have you ever thought of what your ceiling fan sees? You probably haven't, right? If we were to think of a definition for art, we probably have grandiose ideas in our mind, but it is something fairly simple. It is the reimagining of ordinary things to give it a fresh angle, to give it a new angle. What is creativity at the end of the day? It is taking something which is unremarkable and making it remarkable so that the eye or the ear or the mind, any of our senses, catches something which is our mundane, ordinary experience and makes it something extraordinary. And a camera like this makes that possible because of its uniqueness. You can use it in a variety of ways. This camera actually reminds me of a quote that Gary Winogrand once said. He said, "I photograph things to see what something looks like being photographed." And that is what the portability and the uniqueness of this allows us. A lot of alternate and unique angles and just things to kind of spur us in our creativity.
insert the metal tip into the buckle and tighten by pulling the strap. To unfasten, lift the flap.
Here's a quick vlog test from the Insta360 Go3s. The camera is quite close to me. I've mounted it on a generic suction mount on the windshield of the car. Even though it's close to me, it's not even 1 arm's distance. You get a nice wide field of view, so I like that. So as we do this, maybe I can just speak about a few cons as well. The 3 cons that I can think of this camera, one is that the price. I think it's definitely a unique product. It gives you things that nothing else in the market gives you, I think. But even then, I think it's priced on the higher side. The second con is that the processing speed is a little slow in this. If the camera is off and you use the quick capture button, it takes about 5 seconds to start recording. Now, depending on what you shoot, you may miss the moment, but then if you don't do very time critical things, I think it's not a deal breaker. It should have been faster, I think, but it's not a deal breaker. And the third con is that you cannot fix an external mic, or you cannot use an external wireless mic with this. Well, we can use this vlog test to see how the built-in mic is. With what I've heard, I think it is pretty good. So right now it's using the built-in mic. Let's see if the road noise and the engine noise seeps in through this. If you're out and about, if the conditions are very windy, you may find it an issue. Otherwise, I think the built-in mic is decent, but you can be the judge for yourself. And if you are away from the camera and speaking into the camera, if you're vlogging while there's a good distance between you and the camera, I guess you will have to use an external mic and sync up the audio in post. Conceptually, I quite like it because, you know, more of our endeavors need to be like this, where we don't complicate things and make it more difficult for us to use. Because when something is more difficult for us to use, we don't end up using it, right? So I wish things were not a barrier between us and our creativity, between us and the final art form that we want to make. Because we are so good at making these excuses, right? I won't start writing unless I have a good cup of my favorite coffee and I'm sitting in my comfortable chair. Until then, I'm going to procrastinate, or I'm not going to take pictures unless I have this particular camera with this particular focal length and aperture combination. Till then, I'm just not going to do it, right? So we actually make things difficult for ourselves. Having said that, limitations are a good thing in our creative process. In fact, I have made a video on it. I'll link it up here below, of how limitations can help us. This is not talking about limitations. This is talking about how we put these artificial barriers between us and actually doing something that we are called to do. And when those barriers are removed, and if our tools remove those barriers for us, then that's one less thing standing between us and making the work that we are called to make. So I guess that's pretty much it about this camera. There are plenty of moments in life that we would want to document, that we would want to preserve for ourselves, and a camera like this makes it easy to do that. So in closing, let's ask ourselves, you know, what can we do to make our creative process less cumbersome for us? And a camera like this, for me, I take it in a lot of places, and because of its uniqueness, there's very less reason to not use it and to not take it with me. And in spite of the flaws, I would say, in spite of the limitations, I think this is a good product, and whether you're a professional or an enthusiast, I think you can make good use of it if you want to. All right, thank you for watching.